Hello, tarot and oracle people. It is a rainy Sunday morning here in South Carolina. And before I go over to my brother's house to babysit my nephew, which is I call it a ritual, but it's my pleasure every Sunday. Excuse me, it's early. It's my pleasure every Sunday to go to my brother's house and babysit my nephew pretty much most of the day. He's almost 2 and it's just an absolute delight and an unexpected surprise in my life. So yes, that's how I spend my Sunday. Before I go over there, I wanted to respond to Maha's treasure box and do her Tarot 11 tag. So let's get started. Tarot 11, and I have it on my iPad here, so I'm having to look down to read the questions. And you know how the iPad sometimes shuts down on you, So question number 1, how did you first discover tarot? Well, I really can't remember a time in my life when I didn't know that tarot existed. But it's been on TV, it's been in movies, so yeah, I'm sure there was a time when I was a kid when I had no idea what it was. But it was always something that it was there. Growing up, I grew up Southern and Christian, and the esoteric world never touched my world. I had to go looking for it. And it was sometime around 2000, it was 2004. 2004, I had long since become disenchanted with Christianity as my spiritual path and had basically just been nothing. And in 2004, I tried witchcraft and Wicca. And part of that was tarot. And I think I've talked about this before. And so I picked up the tarot as part of the Wiccan witchcraft path. That was not a path that particularly resonated with me completely. You know, there are things about all spiritual and religious paths that I like. And so what I'm doing now is kind of taking pieces. I'm taking what I like from each piece and sort of amalgamating it into my own spiritual path. The Wicca within a year was just something that didn't interest me anymore. And I got rid of all of my Wicca and witchcraft books and most of the paraphernalia. But my tarot decks, for some reason, I just couldn't let go of. And I was looking at my order history on Amazon. And, here it is. It looks like in July 2004, I ordered the Complete Tarot Kit, which is a kit that includes a Thoth deck, a Rider-Waite-Smith deck, and a guidebook. And I also ordered the Beginner's Guide to Tarot by Juliet Sharman Burke, the pink back Beginner's Tarot. And I also ordered in August the Gilded Tarot. So that's where I started with my tarot collection. I don't have the decks from the Complete Tarot Kit anymore. They've long since gone to other things. But I still have the other 2 decks. So when I got rid of all the Wicca stuff, I did not get rid of the tarot decks. And they just sat in a little place in my house for 10 years. And this is the weirdest thing. In 2014, because I have my order history, I started ordering tarot decks again in 2014. In 2014, I was flipping through channels and came across something on one of the, I don't know if it was the History Channel or the Smithsonian Channel or one of those channels about cartomancy and tarot. And I sat and watched it and I went, why did I ever let go of tarot? And I went into my little cabinet and I dug out my little tarot cards and I started my tarot journey all over again in 2014. And that's when in 2004, I was looking at it strictly for telling the future, and I kept pulling the Tower card and I was scared to death. And in 2014, that's when I started using it as a spiritual tool to help me connect with my higher self, the divine, whatever is out there, I don't know, to help me with my personal growth and my self-esteem issues and my fear issues and all of that sort of stuff. So that's really the answers to questions 1 and 2, because question 1 was when and how did you first discover tarot? And question 2 is how long have you been working with tarot? So you can see I worked with it in 2004 for probably a year, maybe a year and a half. And then I picked it up again in 2014 and have been enamored with it and just really loving it ever since. So question 3, do you consider yourself a deck collector? Yes. And that's all I'm going to say there. That's all I need to say. Question 4, do you cleanse your decks? No, I don't. Not a ritual person. I don't, I believe that cleansing your decks is important if it's important to you. For me, it's not important because these are just pieces of cardboard that have pictures on them. So I don't see the need for me, for what I'm doing with them right now, to do any sort of cleansing because I'm not a witch and I don't really believe they pick up other people's energies. Again, just me. Just me. 5, what role does tarot play in your life? I've sort of already answered that. It is a spiritual tool for me right now. I would eventually like to start reading professionally for other people, but not in a fortune telling capacity, not in a divinatory, as we see the word now, capacity. I would use it more as sort of a life coach advice type of thing rather than, you know, this is what's going to happen and that sort of thing. But right now it is my main spiritual tool. This is how I connect with spirit, divinity, or whatever is out there that's greater than me, is through these cards. 6, do you use a system of correspondences with the tarot? I guess I do, sort of. Nothing, I don't, I've read about and studied what correspondences other people have associated with tarot. The elemental associations, seasonal associations, astrological associations. And while that's kind of nice to have in the back of my head, that's not what I'm doing with the tarot. I'm not looking for correspondences. I'm looking at the card just to look at the picture and what is that telling my higher self, or what is my higher self telling me that I need to know from looking at that card. So while I'm sort of learning them and they're in the back of my mind, and yes, you know, I identify with the Temperance card because I'm a Sagittarius and that sort of thing, I don't know that I actually use those associations as part of my reading. That's it. I don't really use those associations as part of my reading. They're part of my knowledge base, but I don't consciously go to those associations as part of my readings. Well, then that's not true, because I definitely use the elemental associations as part of my readings, the earth, air, fire, water, but those are probably the only ones that I consciously use as part of my readings. So yeah, I'm figuring this out as I go through this video. Number 7, what is one deck that you feel most comfortable using no matter the situation? And of course, because I always cheat, I am going to use 2 decks. The first deck is my Pamela Coleman Smith, Rider-Waite Smith. This is my favorite version of the Rider-Waite Smith. I've talked about it many times, and I'm going to again apologize for the glare. It's a rainy Sunday morning, and there's not a whole lot I can do about the bad lighting. But yes, this particular deck it's my go-to deck. It's any situation, any sort of question, I can use this deck to read with. But I have another one that's a little more personal to me. I think this one's a little, for my spiritual path, this one's a little aloof. It's not quite as connected to me, but at the same time it works in all situations. The one that I'm a little bit more connected to is my Ellis deck. And I have the jumbo. I love this deck. It takes some of the Christian, a lot of the Christian imagery out. It's still basically a Rider-Waite Smith system, and I love, love, love it. I have 3 different versions of this deck. I have this version, I have the 4th edition, and I have the 3rd edition. So this is my deck. Okay. Number 8. Other than for doing readings, do you use the tarot in any other way? I have been known to play solitaire with the tarot on occasion, just to have cards in my hands, because I love to have cards in my hands. But I really don't. I really don't use it for anything other than readings. Number 9. Do you read tarot for predicting the future? And I don't. I'm sure there are people who can do that, but that's not what I use it for. Again, I use it for a spiritual tool. So I use it for advice, and I do use some spreads that have potential outcomes, but I take them with a grain of salt because the future, in my opinion, is not set in stone. Number 10, if you could be any card in the tarot at this point in your life, which card would you be? And this hasn't changed since the last time I answered this question, sort of. It's still the Magician. His confidence, his capacity to be able to handle what is coming, his innate power and abilities. I just, and look, this one in particular, I just get the glare off of it. This one has 6 hands. So he really does have the capacity and ability and to do things. And he very much feels like he knows what he's doing and he's capable of doing it and he's doing it. And I would really love to have that, a little more of that in my life right now. So that is the card I would be. And then number 11, which one card in the tarot has been most difficult for you to connect with, and how have you finally become more comfortable with it? That's a no-brainer. That's the Judgment card, and even in both of these. And it's because of the Christian symbolism of, you know, you're being judged by a third person, and if they don't like you, you're going to go to hell, and if they like you, you're going to go to heaven. And I'm still working on that one a good bit. But I found this depiction from the Witch's Tarot by Ellen Dugan, where it's called Karma instead. And while I don't consider myself a witch, I like something that she said in the book about this, and I'm going to pick that up and read it just really quickly. Now you must come to terms with your past experiences. Ask yourself what lessons you've learned from them. This way you can gracefully proceed with a greater understanding. And those 2 sentences have done the most to help me with the Judgment card. I'm coming to terms with my past. What have I learned from my past? And how can I use what I've learned to move forward? I really, that helps me a lot with the Judgment card. And then also sometimes when I pull it, I can see listening to the higher call. So hearing a call from somewhere higher than myself and heeding that call and following it. So that's how I've become more comfortable with the Judgment card. Okay, that's all 11 questions. I would love to see anyone who wants to do a response to Maha's Treasure Box. I would love to see your responses. Have a wonderful, wonderful day, and thank you so much for watching. Bye.